Hello and welcome to our screencast on using credible research in our essays. This is arguably one of the most important things that we have to deal with because as early writers or early academic writers, we don't typically have a lot of credibility to start off with. So typically our only credibility is the use of credible sources in our essays. So why does credibility matter? Well, the ancient Greeks saw that any argument um, being composed of three basic concepts. Hopefully you heard of this in your earlier classes. Ethos, for example, is what we're focusing on, the ethics or believability of the argument. So an argument with ethos means that the writer or speaker is trustworthy. We can actually believe him or her. Then we have pathos. The writer or speaker makes an appropriate emotional appeal. An argument with pathos means that the writer understands us, so they're reaching out to us. Logos is the logic or reasoning behind an argument. An argument with logos presents the argument in a way that the audience can actually understand it. So it has sound reasoning and evidence behind it. And we shift how we use these three depending upon our audience. So, for example, if I'm speaking to my wife, I might make emotional appeals or reasoning much differently because of that relationship than I might be to someone that I didn't know. The end result here, though, is that credibility matters because if we can't trust the writer, we can't trust the essay. Should also think about this in terms of casual reading versus credible research. So casual reading would be reading for non-academic purpose. We're just reading for entertainment. We're not trying to be convinced. We're just looking for some more information. Methods would include things like general Google searches, Wikipedia, or other wiki sites. I know I always hear teachers saying that they don't like Wikipedia. I agree, I don't use it for my academic work, but at the same time, I have it on my smartphone as a bookmark page. Just in case something comes up, I want some more information, I go to Wikipedia. However, I will not use it for an actual academic site. Credible research, though, typically tends to be for scholarly or academic purposes. We're reading for information, we're reading for evidence, we're reading for analysis. We're evaluating arguments. Methods in this case would be using the research databases, peer-reviewed journals. Peer-reviewed journals basically means that a committee of experts in the field have read the information, they've evaluated it, they've verified its trustworthiness. It is usually the best of the best. So please keep in mind that a general search engine like Google is not a tool for credible research. We are reading with a scholarly purpose. The sources that you're going to need for your essays from now on need to be of a high academic standard. So when you're doing your research, please do not use Google, Yahoo, Bing, and so on for searching for sources to integrate into your essay. Other types of sources that are not credible. Encyclopedias and dictionaries. Do not use a dictionary or encyclopedia in your academic research. They are peer-reviewed, but they're just general references. Also, they are typically seen as more elementary and middle school, definitely not for anything at a university level essay. Any sort of wiki, including Wikipedia. Yes, I realize that Wikipedia often has its sources listed at the bottom. On the other hand, anyone can edit Wikipedia anytime, and they can post something really ridiculous, and it may take a couple of hours for them to fix that. And during the time that it takes those couple of hours, you might be looking at that misinformation. Any sort of blog. This includes addresses using Blogger or WordPress. Again, yes, there are credible blogs out there, but the majority of them are not. They're created by users whose credibility is not verified. Users post their responses when credible sites tend to reject them. So, blog sites tend to promote conspiracy theories lacking in logic and evidence. Any site with non-scholarly advertisements or store selling its own goods. So we say non-scholarly. For example, I belong to an organization called the National Council of Teachers of English. Sometimes when I'm on their site, I'll see advertisements for books on literature or writing or teaching. So that has a scholarly advertisement. Some of them have good intentions. Admittedly, most of them are just scams. We'll talk about those here in just a bit. The rest of them are for entertainment only. Be aware of biased political sites. Notice we're looking at the extremes on both sides. Mother Jones, The New Yorker, Salon, for example, those are all extremely biased liberal sites. On the far opposite end, we have Breitbart, The Drudge Report. The Media Research Center sounds like it would be a credible source, but when you go to it, Basically, it's just a right-wing organization slamming any sort of what they perceive to be left-wing media. Sites that lean toward liberal views, MSNBC and its programs, Huffington Post, Washington Post, likewise, if that leans toward conservative views, Fox News, the Wall Street Journal, The Blaze. These are sites that tend to be so biased that it's really just not a good idea to quote any of them in your essay. There's a chart there to take a look at. I'll let you investigate that one on your own. It's a handy way of thinking about these sites. Also, people on sites that sound scientific but are not. Natural news. Hey, natural. Wonderful. Sounds great. Actually, it promotes anti-government, anti-vaccination conspiracy theories. David Wolf, you might have heard of him on Facebook or on Twitter. Also, Vani Hari, also known as the Food Babe. Both of these people claim to have medical training. They don't. David Wolf, for example, believes in a flat earth. Vani Hari infamously said that airlines were trying to poison its passengers by filling planes with more than 50% nitrogen rather than a 100% oxygen-rich environment. If you have any elementary science level education, you know that a 100% oxygen-rich environment would create an explosion as soon as there was a slight spark. Also, what we're breathing right now is about 70% nitrogen. So neither of them has any sort of medical training. Both of them have been proven repeatedly to lack understanding of even basic scientific concepts. Both of them also promote products as alternatives to valid peer-reviewed medicine. Keep in mind also that the term alternative medicine, if it were medicine, it would just be called that. It wouldn't be called alternative medicine. Andrew Wakefield is the researcher who claimed a link between vaccines and autism. However, that has been thoroughly refuted. His medical license was taken away, but unfortunately this myth persists and still continues to this day. He lost his medical license when it was proven that he had faked the results. Also, in terms of statistics, we talk about sample size. Most peer-reviewed studies look at thousands upon thousands of cases. Wakefield looked at 12. So he's been thoroughly discredited, thoroughly debunked. Do not use anything by him in your research. Joseph Mercola, again, sounds like a doctor. He's more interested in selling products than providing sound medical advice. If you follow that link on the slideshow, you'll look at some of his anti-science conspiracy theories. He's more out for your money than for your good health. So any of these sites, or all these sites, use name-calling, things like Big Pharma, that's out to get you, shills to scare us, and again, use some logic. The flu vaccine, for example, most insurance companies will cover it. Even if they don't, it's maybe $20, $25. These people say, oh, Big Pharma is trying to make money off of you. On the other hand, if you think about being hospitalized for the flu, you're going to pay $5,000 to $10,000 in a hospital visit. So simple logic dictates, hey, who's really supporting quote-unquote Big Pharma here? Keep in mind that evidence that is not credible will not count toward your research requirement in the assignment. So non-credible evidence hurts our credibility. Even if the assignment's minimum number of credible sources has been fulfilled, non-credible evidence will damage the validity of the essay's analysis. So do not use non-credible evidence in your essays. If you have a question about a source, ask before using it. Here are some general questions that we can answer or ask about a source's credibility. Things like, can we identify the author's first and last name? Do they have verified credentials in the field? Can we identify the publisher or sponsoring organization? By the way, if you cannot identify the publisher, do not use the source. Is it a for-profit or is it a non-profit? If it's a for-profit, who benefits from the work? What do critics of the author, publisher, or organization say? So if you can answer these questions, that'll help you determine the source's credibility when we don't have enough evidence for ourselves. Now, the simplest way of doing that is just to use the academic research databases. So I would like you to use the academic research databases for all of your sources. Conducting research, please make sure to do this at the brainstorming stage. Conduct research as you're brainstorming, help you see what has already been said so that we aren't just repeating or summarizing others' ideas. Also, if you write your essay and then go to find the research, then you're engaging what we call confirmation bias. That's extremely bad. So research should always be done with the brainstorming portion of the writing process, and you may have to do more as the essay takes shape. Make sure that you're using the Washburn University Library databases. Your credibility will be guaranteed. You'll have access to full-text articles, access to peer-reviewed articles, and citation tools to help make citations very easy. The rest of this slideshow shows you screenshots on how to access the Washburn University research databases. I know I'm going through this very quickly, but again, I expect you to take your time with it and explore the databases for yourself. If you cannot find a source using the research databases, you have two options. One would be to change your search terms through synonyms. Another one, unfortunately, is you just have to change your topic. So a topic without the research database support is not an academic essay topic. Also, if you find that a lot of the sources that you're finding are going against all of your ideas, that might be a hint that you might be on the wrong side of truth here. You must use the library research databases to find your sources for your essays. Integrating research within our paragraphs. Make sure that you're setting up the context for the quote, give a brief lead, give a brief summary of the source before quoting anything, introduce the evidence with the signal phrase, something like according to. Cite all the evidence properly. We are using MLA style throughout the semester. Make sure to cite it properly in the paragraph and with a works cited citation. And then respond to the evidence. Show its purpose within the essay. Write an additional sentence tying it into the essay. Never end a paragraph with a citation. Always respond to the citations. And again, I know this slide is a repeat, but it's just that important. Also on our class site, we have an incomplete list of non-credible sites. Do not use any of these sites in your essay. So these are alphabetized, anything with an extreme political bias, an extreme right-wing bias, an extreme left-wing bias. If it promotes conspiracy theories are fun to read on their own. They are not good for academic research. So anything that has pseudoscience, conspiracy theories, extreme biases, do not use these. You have a complete list. YouTube gets on there as a dishonorable mention because it's a favorite site for conspiracy theory advocates to promote their theories on what they don't want you to know. Again, if you have any questions about which sites you can and cannot use, make sure to send me an email or text. Let me know your question.